Welcome to another week of Unturned Pages, our first live show in how many weeks? Like 3, 4?
Month and a half.
Month and a half. So last week I was supposed to do a live, but I ended up with influenza,
and my son had COVID.
Yeah, so it was not a fun weekend. It was not a fun week of influenza A. So I'm glad that we're finally feeling better and I'm not with this cough as much as it was. So welcome to another week. How are you, Jody?
I'm doing very There you are.
Oh. Jody went bye-bye for a second.
How are you doing? I mean, I've gotten to see you a little bit here over the last week, you and your mom, but
yeah.
Other than that, I'm doing okay. I'm back from Hawaii. I'm all rested and recouped, and I'm here. We're going to do some fun stuff tonight with Mat Auryn's book.
Yes.
I'm super excited.
Mat is a internationally best-selling author of Psychic Witch and now Mastering Magic.
Mm-hmm.
He is a witch, an occult teacher, a highly sought-after speaker, and retired professional psychic based on the Bay Area of California. He's been drawn to the occult and the metaphysical since an early age, reading books on witchcraft at age 8. Yes. So I'm excited to have him. He has worked with the Cabot Witch, just like Jody. Mm-hmm. So it will be a fun conversation.
It's going to be fun having a Cabot brethren on. Absolutely. And I was going to say too, if you guys haven't gotten your book and you're in our local area, with everything going on with Enchanted right now, come on over to my store in Stillwater. I've got books. We can take care of you, get you set up. They're absolutely fabulous. They're a witch's must-have book. I mean, it's got everything in here. It's loaded. It's like loaded.
Yeah. I skimmed through them because I don't have time in the past month and a half to do anything. Now I have a little more time, so I can dive into them a little more. But from what I've skimmed through, I've learned a lot. So I'm excited to have him on the show. So
let's get him on.
Hello, Mat.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
I'm well. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I was super excited to have you on. I was so excited that you responded to my message and you were totally game to come on and talk about your 2 books and everything else.
So Mat, you got these beautiful books. The first one obviously was, of course, Psychic Witch, which is, a bestseller. Everybody knows it. And Jenny had a really good thought. We were talking about this a while back when we were noticing the artwork on these books, and you have this beautiful owl. Why don't you explain why you came up with the artwork for the owl on the first one and
then the moth in the second?
I know the reason for the moth because I read it in the book, but explain a little bit, your thought process on that.
Yeah, so this is going to sound a little woo, but I mean, that's our realm, right?
Yes.
The woo. But with both books, I actually got the title and the cover in a dream. Yeah, and for that one, Al was reoccurring. Al is a spirit I work with a lot. I talk about that a little bit in Psychic Witch. And then this one was Moth who came to me, and Moth has a lot of significance. I talk about it a little bit in the book. Moth is a symbol of transformation, obviously, but I think it's extra witchy because they're navigating to the moon. They're always looking for the moon, right? So I feel like that's a beautiful metaphor for how witchcraft is transformative. And Carlos Castaneda wrote books supposedly from his teachings of Don Juan. And we know that Don Juan probably wasn't a real person, but the books are still really spiritually inspiring. And in that, he talks about how Don Juan taught that moths were the carrier of information from sorcerers of all time, and that it was in their moth death, which we also know isn't really a thing. But I thought that was beautiful. This idea of this kind of energetic link to all the witches and sorcerers and magicians of the past, So yeah, that was the logic between the different covers.
And I really do like the moth because, like you were saying, with the transformation, with it meaning transformation, and how you very eloquently wrote the book with the Mastering Magic, because you talk about the transformation of magic. You talk about different things, of course, with meditation and whatnot in the Psychic Witch, which, oh my God, the meditations in that book, phenomenal. I
Thank you.
absolutely love them. I mean, it's some of them I reference, or not, I don't want to say reference, but recognize from the Cabot teachings a little bit, but you had your own spin on it. And I really loved that because it just takes you to a different place and it can transform your thought process. But the Mastering Magic, I actually picked up a few cool tips on that. And practicing for as many years as I have, Matt, I was blown away. I was really impressed, gotta say.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I always try to write in a way that I feel beginners can understand
Yes.
without
Yes.
talking down to them or patronizing them or, insulting their intelligence as the writer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I try to weave in that a little bit of depth in practices and theory that, if you have been practicing for 50 years, perhaps you've never come across or come across a concept or an approach. So I try to put that in. So yeah, I always try to go for beginner understandability, but bring more than just your average like 101.
Right. And I love that because seriously, even though I have practiced as many years as I have, times change and things are
Yeah.
not necessarily easy to get to, or the thought process in today's society is not what it was like when I first started. Also, too, look at social media. I
Media.
mean, we've got all that social media, the fast, everybody's on that quick thought process. And like you and I were talking right before we started the show, so many people are into the quick 1, 2, 3 instant gratification, and magic does not work that way. I mean, you've got your intent, you've got to manifest for things, and you put it out there. And sometimes, yes, you can get things fairly quick, but sometimes it can take a long time. I
You have to
mean,
work
when
towards.
yeah, like Jenny understands that too. But like the store that I opened up not even quite a year ago, I'd been manifesting that probably 20 years. And, I kept putting it out there. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I did my due diligence, because you got to put the work in before you're going to,
Yes.
reach to the magic, as we've all learned. And a very close friend of yours and mine that we know from our past, in the pandemic, Lori Cabot said to me, "And you don't have your shop open yet because why?" She's right. Why? Well, I was scared, is what it was. Is I was
Mm.
scared. So once I put it out there and I said, okay, I'm going to be down and dirty and I'm going to put that magic out there, and I really, really, really want to do it, it came to me. And Brad has a good thing. He just came across, and I missed it, Jen. What did it say? And
It says if it does come quickly, it can backfire and have undesirable side effects.
and that is very true. And that is very true. And I've had it happen. There is not a witch on this earth and can say that it's something has never ever backfired. It could be something simple like, hey, I want to get an A on my math test, and
Math test. Yeah.
I got a D. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I do think that you have to put your due diligence in. But I love, some of the passages in your book, you were talking about that and saying, put the work in, do the right things. And yes, your voice is very specific. You don't want to say I wish, I want. You got to say it is, I have. You've got to have the right wording, to make sure those intentions are appropriate. And I really appreciate that from you as an author and an artist.
Yes, definitely. Heather has a question for you, Matt. Is it okay to use his meditations from the book and such with a group she is starting?
Um, so if I'm understanding the question right, I'm being asked if those meditations, those exercises can be used in a group that you're starting. Yeah, I have absolutely no problem with that. feel free. If you want to drop credit, that would be cool. But yeah, I have no problem. I mean, I'm writing this and providing it to the world for people to use. So I'm honored that any group would incorporate it into their project.
Definitely. Drop credit when it's due, because you don't want to come off and be using other people's work and claiming it's yours, because I know you've had that in the past. Somebody's using your work from your books and putting it in their own books, just basically kind of moving some of the words around to make it sound like their own. Because I know you just had an issue with that, correct?
Right, yeah. There was a book I saw on Amazon
Yes.
that interested me because of the description for the book. Especially they used a word, magical impact, a term that isn't used a lot in the wider kind of witchcraft world. Like, it's a specific concept coined by Josephine McCarthy, who is an occultist. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I wonder if they read Josephine or whatever, because this sounds just like my book. So I got the Kindle version of the book and I was reading it and I was like, this is my book. This is someone literally put it through one of those like AI algorithm things and just changed words here and there. So I sent that to my publisher, and my publisher took legal action right away.
That's
Their
good.
lawyers were like, yeah, this is like 80% your text, like, because they can run it through something.
Oh yeah.
And so that got shut down. I've also had people do this weird thing. This has happened twice now, where they write summary books of Psychic Witch.
Yeah.
And it's all like bullet points. But the thing is they're not summarizing. It's literally like copying a sentence here, there, what they think is the main sentences. So I've had to fight to get that shut down too. Because it's not commentary. It's not, it's just straight up
their
like
own work.
Yeah. So
Wow. So Matt, I know that you've done witchcraft your whole life, and you do go this, into in depth of why why and how you started practicing in your books. And I don't want to bring up uncomfortable stuff, but do you want to give like a short version of it for those people who do not know you, do not know the book, or have not read the book? Just a little bit. I don't want to give away big things in the book, but just kind of give a little background as to why you looked into this path and chose to follow it.
Okay. Well, what parts am I going to touch on? So as you said, that's how I opened the book. So that's kind of the opening story of how I found like energy and got interested in just kind of searching for answers to that. And then a couple years later, I was, a Silver Ravenwolf kid, a Scott Cunningham kid, I had those books and I had them hidden, and I would practice witchcraft. And it was more of kind of like an escapism type thing.
Like most of us did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I talk about a really difficult situation that occurred, and I had to, I used magic to stop the situation in almost a miraculous way that like completely changed my life. So from then on, became that little like, I want to learn more, thirst. And that thirst has been with me my whole life. I've picked up and set down witchcraft many times throughout my life from the beginning. But, when I did start taking it more seriously, I, was a young adult, and I essentially learned as much as I could from as many teachers as I could, and tried to figure out, well, what can make magic potent, and what can make you see results fast, because there's a lot of books with information that's like, here's how you do a spell, and it's kind of like a cookbook. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but like if you don't know how to cook, if you don't know how to use your stove, you may not get what you want. So my mission has been to try to um, share what I know that
Mhm.
works and to help people become empowered. Um, you know, Even at their worst points, just like I was as a child. Um, but
I was just glancing over here because I have your book next to me, and I was glancing over to a small part here that you touch on, and I think it's extremely relevant for people who are just starting out, and maybe a little refresher course for those of us who have been practicing a long time. But you talk about the fact that reality is energy, and I was wondering if you could kind of ad lib a little bit on that for those that are fairly new. And like I said, for us older people, it's a little refresher to kind of rethink that mind thought again.
yeah, yeah. So two ways, but they're interrelated. So scientifically, we know everything is energy. Even the most solid looking thing is essentially when you zoom in and you zoom down, it's atoms, and then you zoom in more and more, and it's just energy. And you realize that if matter is energy at its core, and everything is either matter or space, it would seem everything is energy. Um, Spiritually, metaphysically, that has a lot of significance. Not just with magic. I am an animist, so and this ties with that belief that everything is composed of energy, and everything on some level has an intelligence. And as humans, we want to measure intelligence from how we measure it as mammals, as humans, and then do that to animals. But things are intelligent in ways that are unperceivable to the average person. So, for example, like
Mhm.
plants have intelligences,
Oh,
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
um, and we know this
Mhm.
scientifically. But I think it's even further removed the more we get away from like mammal and plant. So like rocks, I think rocks, stones, the earth has an intelligence. It's just we may not understand it because it's further removed in kind of like the link of animals and nature, to us.
Mhm.
So
I love that. I love that
I
you can
yeah.
you can do that. That you can explain it so that people understand. Bonnie had came across, and I'm kind of skipping ahead, but
okay.
Bonnie came across. She had a question for us, and she said that she noticed when she was reading the two books that in Psychic Witch you had a whole bunch of different exercises for people to do. Where in Mastering Magic, she felt like it wasn't quite as many, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that there was an awful lot of exercises to be able to do in Mastering Magic also, but she was wondering if there was a reason why there wasn't quite as many in the second book compared to the first.
Yeah, totally. So Mastery Magic has about half the exercises and practices as Psychic Witch. But they're two totally different things.
Oh yeah.
So Psychic Witch is not using any materials, not using um, any plants or herbs or ritual tools or
Mhm.
anything like that. The focus was on meditation, getting to know yourself, being able to open your perception, being able to raise power and draw power, and then direct the power. And that's a lot of exercises,
It is.
especially
And
when
I
we split it up.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know,
it was good that you did so many in the first one because now I'm kind of going out on a limb here,
uh-huh.
but I know that when you go through the Cabot training, which I know you've also done,
Mhm,
we do that. It was about the meditation. It was about
mhm.
reprogramming our brain into a format of you have to relax. You've got to learn that it's mental. You had to
Yeah.
take that to heart before you could actually practice the art of magic, which would be more of the mastering magic.
Yes.
So I would imagine that that had a part of it too, which makes me go to a question that somebody else had talked about, with the fact that there are people that claim to be natural born witches. And I was wondering how you felt about that. Do you feel people are natural born witches, or that's just kind of a term that people like to throw out there loosely? Because I have a belief that everybody is born a natural witch. They just lose that because we get it programmed out of ourselves.
Mhm. Kind of
So
just like how children are born with gifts, and
yes, and
society's
we
kind of
shut it
thrown
down.
them out of that area. Like, no, we
Mhm.
don't believe in that. That's not right. But now you have more of like an opening of in society to accept that.
So what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so first, I don't really like to police what other people call themselves or what they necessarily
Mhm.
believe. But it is my belief, and I write this at near the beginning of Psychic Witch. I
Mhm.
believe that magic and psychic ability is our birthright, and I believe
Mhm.
as a birthright, we're all born with it, because it's spirit, you know. Before we're in physical form, we're spirits. After our physical form, we're spirits, you
Right.
know. And the language that spirit uses are those kind of psychic faculties, and the movement, the way of being that spirits are is a magical way of being, you know. And I think when we incarnate, we have those senses first, and then
Mhm.
our physical senses kind of crystallize on that, you know. And I think with age, it recedes, that kind of connection with those spirit senses, with the psychic ability and the magical working. Because it's really the same energy. It's two sides of one coin, right? So psychic ability
Mhm.
is the perception of subtle energy. Magic is the projection and the manipulation of that energy. So it's kind of like talking and listening. But yeah, I think, you know, we lose it as children, most people around 7. I think some people have a better time holding on to it, and I think some people are naturally more psychic or naturally more magical. But, you know, it's just like any other art or any other skill, you know. It's something
Yeah.
that you can develop with practice and time and energy, and
Yes.
if you just
Definitely.
also rely on this idea of like, "Oh, I'm a natural witch," and don't put any work and
No.
development into it,
No.
you know,
I
it's
truly have always believed, and it's like what you were saying, that it's like with anything, whether you're a singer, whether you play an instrument or anything, if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you're not
Yep.
practicing, you're not going to keep those abilities. They're going to
Abilities.
weaken,
Yeah.
or you're going to forget, or you're going to just kind of think, you know, you've got to be, you got to be in it. You've got to
Mhm.
have that mindset with it. I agree with you
I
there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I know in Mastering Magic, you kind of dive into like ADHD
Mhm.
and um like meditation
aphantasia.
with that as well.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how can people with those kind of develop their abilities and help their meditation strength?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so the biggest complaint feedback, and it wasn't really like a complaint, but I got a feedback from a lot of people with Psychic Witch that either they have aphantasia, which is the inability to see images in their mind's eye on command,
Yep.
Mhm.
or they had ADHD, and didn't want to or couldn't sit still and focus and do all the exercises of Psychic Witch because it's so mental driven, you know.
Mm.
Particularly just to even get into alpha, you know, takes
Oh yes.
concentration, and then from
Oh yeah.
there, you know, that's your starting point. But if you can't focus, you know, what can you do? um so with both, you know, I provide my research, because, you know, as a writer, as a teacher, you know, this is something that I need to figure out a solution to. So I got all my friends who have ADHD or aphantasia who were magical practitioners as well. And I read a bunch of really boring, like medical journal
Mhm.
and stuff like that on the subjects. And so I came up with alternatives, several alternatives for those techniques of entering into alpha, and things you can do aside from focusing on pure visualization, if that's a problem for someone. And I had them all try it out, and only a couple made it to the book out of all the exercises that I wrote, because those were the ones that worked across the board for everyone. And I wanted to provide what actually worked to help people. So one of the things, for example, uh, m- for meditation, to get into an altered state, you don't necessarily have to close your eyes and visualize and focus. You can do other things that are meditative, that alter your consciousness to that level. And you see it in things like dancing or art. There's different terms for it, like being in the zone. You just
Yep.
get in the zone. And essentially that is the alpha level. So I provide, some tips and some techniques for anyone who struggles with either of those.
That's nice.
That's
So with
awesome.
everything going on out in the world with the social media hype, we were briefly talking a little bit about TikTok earlier, but there's a whole bunch of different social media platforms now, where people are doing magic and whatnot. Yeah, it's great that they can reach out to that. I like books. I'm one of these people who I want to hold it. I want to have it,
Mhm.
so that I can read, or I want to learn with a practitioner who can guide a person. That's my personal feeling. No, I realize that's not for everybody, and it's fine to have social media platforms. In fact, I utilize them to a point, for advertising and different things like that, and to get messages out there. But what's your thought on it?
Well, I think it depends on the individual. If the I think social media can provide great entry points for people
Mhm.
on basic um, things related to magic. Um, but I don't find the depth
Yes.
in
Yeah.
those things that I do in books, and I don't find the things that,
Or
like,
with the teacher even, or a mentor.
right, right, right. It's very surface level
Mhm.
online. And sometimes I worry that people may not find the depth if they, don't look towards books or teachers and
Mhm.
mentors.
Mhm.
But also that's not for me to really judge,
No,
because
I
No.
understand
that's
that.
not
Yeah.
my spiritual path. That's
Mhm.
everyone else's. So
So with that being said, what do you feel is missing in our witchcraft society as far as, coming to education, books, or anything
Yeah.
else with
What is
that?
missing?
I think everything becomes bite size online when it comes
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
witchcraft. And witchcraft isn't really bite size,
No.
and we can
Nope.
try to, but especially when we have like TikTok that wants like what, like 60 seconds or something like that of
Something
like
like
a
that.
video of information. And
Yeah.
I do think that there are some things that explore things in an interesting way, but usually that tends to be either like podcasts where like an author or a teacher is being interviewed,
Mhm.
or YouTube videos where they can take time to try to
To
explain
expand.
something.
Yeah, I like that too. I do like, I think too with the YouTube, you you get a little bit of a better, um, view of what that individual is thinking, because you can talk longer or you can hear
Oh
them
yeah.
and they can go more
Right.
into depth and that kind of thing. So I do agree with that. We did have a patron come on and ask, her name is Danielle, and she was asking, are you going to make your books into audiobooks so that they can be heard as you're driving down the street?
They already are.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
Where
so
can they find them?
both are on audible.com. James Anderson Foster narrates both. He's excellent. He has a sexy daddy voice that I don't. And if you do download those, you can go to my website, matauryn.com, MATAURYN.com, and hit the download button. And I have 2 PDF companions for both audiobooks.
Beautiful.
So you can see the visuals and the graphs, that you would want to look at if you were listening to the audio.
How about you, Jenny? Do you have any burning questions you want to know?
I had just had one because I had a huge list of book questions. How can people infuse more magic in their daily lives if they're not like a fully like witch or pagan or into this field yet, but kind of like putting their feet into the water?
Yeah, so honestly, it comes down to mindfulness. And mindfulness is the core of mastery when it comes to magic.
Mhm.
You know, as well as connection, but like, just being aware of like, what are you doing? We're on such autopilot all the time, that
Oh yeah,
we do things without thinking. It's like, oh, I'm gonna make coffee, I gotta check my email, I gotta this that,
this and
and
that.
we're on autopilot. But
Right.
really taking a moment to I'm
Breathe.
making I'm making a pot of coffee, well, what is the spirit of coffee? What do I want to infuse in this coffee? And it can be just as simple, as just, taking a moment to think about what you're doing and what you would like that to act magically. You know, uh,
Doing a
part-
daily affirmation. Like I
Yeah.
drink coffee with cream. And so when I'm drinking coffee, I have my half and half in there, and I stir in every morning. I stir in my affirmation. And it
yes,
could be as simple as, I'm going to have a great day today, or I'm going to have more energy today than I did yesterday. It doesn't have to be, oh, I want a new house. Oh, I want a new job or a new car.
Yeah,
It
I
can be
want more
something
money.
simple. You know what I mean? Just something simple. I'm going to have a good day today. I'm not going to feel tired today, or I want to be more aware of my surroundings. I want to take the time to meditate or walk down the road and smell the roses, so to speak.
Yeah.
So definitely. I missed that question, Jenny, that just came through.
Nicole asked, what makes you different from like other witchcraft authors, pagans, or people in the field already? What makes
um,
you different?
I don't like to compare myself to other people, other authors, my peers. I bring something to the table from my experience and my viewpoints and my training, just as other authors do themselves. But
Totally.
I don't really want to compare myself to other authors.
I
And
love it that you're
I love that.
you're
Yeah.
extremely mindful. I think both of us, over our years of practice, Jenny too, we think about the words we want to use,
Yep.
because words are power.
Yep.
And you don't want, it's like when people are running around and they're just saying something, they mean it in jest, but they say, oh, I wish so and so would, whatever it is.
right,
They don't realize how powerful those words can be, and that could actually be sent out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then what
It's just
if?
energy.
Yeah, but it's like the old saying of, break a leg, for the
Yeah.
actors, before going on stage. You don't really want to say something like that, because what if they tripped going up the staircase to get up to that platform? You'd
Yeah.
feel awful if that really happened. So I really appreciate that you are very mindful of that. That is very It's a truly refreshing thing to see because not everybody is like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you.
So I know you think of yourself as an occult person. Do you think of yourself as like a pagan as well, or do you kind of not go with that
Um,
description?
Yes and no. I identify as a witch first. Witchcraft is the core of my practice. Pagan, I have mixed feelings about, but it really doesn't matter because to society, I am a pagan. And pagan is a word that, we've embraced, but it was originally a slur, so it's
Yeah.
from the vantage point of Christianity,
Mhm.
Yep.
we're pagan. We'd also be called heathen, but that's not technically correct for me. I don't practice heathenry. But the word heathen was used in a very similar way.
Okay.
So here's another one that just I'm throwing out there again. We both have got a little bit of that Cabot background. You've met many, many very high-end people in the witch culture. It sounds like you have met Celine Fox in the past, Raven Silversmith or Silverwolf, I apologize, in the past, Lori Cabot, just to name a few. And without sounding, like you're choosing one over another, because everybody has their own interesting aspects. We understand that. But for you personally, what was like the most interesting or creative way of meeting an individual out of all of these?
Creative way of meeting. I think the weirdest was Selena Fox.
Okay.
That was in Pantheacon. I mentioned this in Mastering Magic as well.
Mhm.
Um, Pantheacon, which was this big pagan conference, so it was all magical people and polytheists and stuff of that nature. And I was going on up to my hotel room or something in the elevator, and Selena Fox comes on the elevator, and
I read that.
she happily like pushes her elevator number, and I'm sitting there like totally like, holy crap, this is Selena Fox. This is like, I grew up like seeing her in newspapers and
Mhm.
those documentaries on witchcraft that they used to make.
Yeah,
So
you're a little starstruck.
Oh yeah.
yeah, totally. So I was sitting like, well, what do I say to someone as legendary as Selena Fox, who has done so much for witchcraft and paganism in general?
Mhm.
And by the time I found my tongue, like she got off the elevator. So, um, uh, which is funny because, Selena her presence is intimidating of who she is, but she is the most
So,
unintimidating person
yeah,
ever.
she's
She
the
is
most
just,
gentle soul.
yes, and
Yes, yes.
so like, um, just sweet and good, and
I
yeah,
had the opportunity
I
of meeting her, oh gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was now. Same type of a situation. We have during spring, the spring equinox,
yeah.
we have a little gathering here, and it's called Paganicon.
Mhm.
And Paganicon is every March, and
oh
she
yeah.
comes. And
Mhm.
so I wasn't in the elevator. She was actually just out walking. She was doing a ritual, or I went to like the opening ritual, and she was a part of it, or one of the classes that they did, and I got to meet her and just sit and chit chat with her. But I was just sitting out in the lobby, and she came over and she just plopped down and started talking to me, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, it's so
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
This is so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, she did that
Yeah.
to me, and I had about the same reaction, where, I'm just like somewhere waiting for like a room to open up or something for
Mhm.
like a
Mhm.
conference. And Selena just comes up and starts talking, just like she's known you forever,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
um,
But I
yeah,
love
Like
that. I
it's
yeah,
love that about her.
it's
And I
yeah,
kind of like
love
the
it
same
about so
with
many people.
it's kind of like the same with me because I'm do the paranormal. So I like when I started 10, 12 years ago. It was like you see these people on TV, you see these people in books and stuff, and then over the years you get like really good friends with them, and they just sit down and just chat with you like
it's just like you're having
you see them, like
coffee.
once or twice a year maybe, and
Yeah.
when you do get back together, it's just one big happy reunion. It's just you see these people, you kind of like fangirl or whatever, and then it's like you are just like everyone else. Yes, you're on
Yeah.
TV, but you're just like everyone else.
But what I
Yeah.
think too, Matt, is you've got some very powerful books,
Oh, yeah.
and you're more than up and coming. You've hit it, and out here in the Midwest, you're a big deal. I'm just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
You're a big deal out here. People just love your books. So you're
Yeah.
kind of at that level at this point. You're going to be the one that's going to different conferences, and you're going to be the one getting on the elevator going, "Hey, which button do you want me to push for you?" And
Yeah.
you're going to be like,
Maybe.
"It's Matt."
I know. Like, last year, Enchanted Boutique sold probably, I want to say probably 200 copies of Psychic Witch, if not more, because we always had to reorder it like every week.
I can't keep it
our-
on my shelves. I got to be honest.
One tarot reader used it in her tarot class as like a kind of like foundation of like, because when you're doing tarot readings, you kind of use your you use your psychic abilities or your gifts to read the cards. So she used it as like a foundation for her class. So
Awesome.
every time she taught her class, everybody was buying your book, and then people will come in with their friends and buy the book. So it's like your book was really hot seller for us, and then once your second book came out, it was a hot seller until we had to close last couple of weeks. But
Well, I love hearing that. I'm still in a little bit of awe and amazement of how well received it's been and how popular it's been. But for me, it doesn't feel real, because my book came out during the pandemic. And so like I have pretty much been a homebody, for the last couple of years, just like everyone else. And I still have not seen any of my books in the wild. No, so
you need to come to the Midwest. I'm just
you got to come to the Midwest.
Everywhere. You are everywhere out here.
Well, and I've even like asked, and like they'll be like, "Oh, we're sold out," but like it's just I haven't had that moment as an author where I see my book like in the wild to make it really feel real. I'm just I am honored and I'm humbled that people are receiving it so well and loving it and recommending it. That means so much to me.
So out of the two books, I have a really quick question. So out of the two books, all the different exercises, all the different things that you do, what is your favorite one to actually I know that's maybe a hard one, but what would be your favorite exercise, or whether it's a meditation or an actual exercise? What's your favorite out of all of them?
Oh, I don't know.
You gotta go potty? My dog has got to go to the bathroom. I got to take my dog to the bathroom.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm not sure. I love all of it. And I try to find enjoyment and love in even the most simple, basic foundational exercises, as well as the more like elaborate things like, casting a triangle or like, I don't know if I could say I have a favorite.
Okay. Brad has a question.
Excuse me.
Matt, do you teach a tradition like Black Rose, Fairy, Blue Fairy, etc.? Do you like?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Yeah, you broke up, Jen.
Oh, his question was, Matt, do you teach a tradition like Black Rose, Blue Fairy, etc.? I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah. So, I teach right now privately a very select tradition with my now husband, Devin Hunter, which is Sacred Fire's Witchcraft. And that is part of Black Rose Witchcraft, which is open to the public. Anyone can take that online. The Black Rose tradition of witchcraft. Blue Rose Fairy is another option you can take after Black Rose, but that is Storm Fairy Wolf. He teaches that. It's funny, I'm the only person in this house that's not a fairy initiate, but everyone thinks that I am. For those who are unfamiliar, fairy is the oldest American tradition of witchcraft. It was founded by Victor Anderson, and it's usually spelled Feri. But it's a tradition of witchcraft that supposedly grew completely independent of like Wicca or things of that nature, and there is a lot of differences.
Mhm. Oh, definitely. Definitely a lot of differences.
I know Heather has the question, how does it feel to know some people would react to you like you did to Selena Fox? How does it make you feel?
I would probably think what Selena probably thought, which is I would probably think it's silly. It's humbling, it's an honor, but in the end, I'm not. I think we put people on pedestals, even when we don't want to, and I think
Mhm.
it's easy to have others put you on a pedestal and start believing that. So I always try to be really mindful that I'm strip it all away. I'm just a nerd who loves this stuff. Um,
Aren't we all a little bit? Just a little
Oh,
bit
exactly.
of a nerd?
Yeah, yeah, and
Because,
I talk about that in Mastering Magic,
you
like.
do. You do. Because there's so much science base. I mean, the reason why we call it magic, and I know you've heard this cliche before, the reason we call it magic, people, is because science hasn't proven it yet. And that's kind of where we're going with it. I mean, there is physics, there is science involved with what we do when we're manipulating energy and changing an outcome. It's all that relativity. It's like creating the energy balls. It's all these different things that we do in the craft, and we're changing an outcome. And
Mhm.
and it's a catalyst. It's what is it? Cause and effect is what I wanted to say, not a catalyst. So we are doing that, and people, so many people, just because they don't understand it, they glorify it with Hollywood. You know what I mean? They
Oh,
think
yeah.
that the craziness that they see on the witch movie is that, oh, I can wiggle my nose like Samantha and this is going to happen, or whatnot. And that's not how it works, but it's one of those things that every action that you do causes a reaction. And that's what true magic really is.
Yep. Do you have plans for
Yes.
upcoming books?
I do. I am
Good.
writing one at the moment, that I'm contracted for, but
When
I'm
is it due to come out? Do you know?
it's hard to tell, especially this
Mhm.
early. My manuscript is due in spring.
Okay.
But even when the editing process is finished, which takes a while with the
Oh,
editors
yeah.
and stuff, it takes about a year afterwards for a book to come out. Like,
So
it just feels like forever
23
when
years.
you're done with all the work and just waiting for it to come out.
Yeah,
so you're
But I
thinking
am,
2024?
yeah. So I think that's the goal, or late
Sure.
2023 if we're lucky
Okay.
and they rush it. Um,
Well, I'm
but
in fingers crossed for 2023, because when I picked up Mastering Magic and sat down and read it, I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put
that's
it
good.
down. Yeah, I just got sucked in. It was that good. I mean, and that's the way it was with Psychic Witch too, because when you were doing your meditations in there, I was like, and I would just get caught up in it, and it was so relaxing for me to be able to focus and do some of those. So some of them, of course, I had been practicing a while because the alpha count down. I already knew that, but it's fun, and I get excited to meet people who have gone through and had some training under my what I call my lineage, where I am under with Lori. And I understand it, because some of these books you go out and read, and because I do read other authors, and I'll be reading through it, and I'll go, oh, well, okay, because I don't think of it in that aspect, because it's just not my forte. I grew up being eclectic, doing my own thing for solitaire for years, and I have been in other covens, but Lori was kind of like, she was my celebrity idol. I saw her, oh my God, back in the 80s, I think it was 84, when she was on Oprah Winfrey. I've talked about this many a time. And I'm like, oh my God, one day I want to meet her. I was like a little kid in a candy store, and I happened to be out vacationing, and I happened to go into Enchanted and hopefully get a reading, which, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. 3 months, you had to, you know how that is. You had to plan for it, right? And met our buddy Brian and started talking with him a little bit. And I was just shopping, and she came out from the back room, and she just walked up to me like this. And I'm like, oh crap, what did I do? And she just, you're a healer. She had no idea, Matt, I'm a nurse. She had no idea that I was a nurse, or that I was a Reiki master, or new energy healings by any means, but she knew, you know what I mean? And so it's neat to meet people like you who have written books, and after you've gone through stuff like that and moved on and done different things, it's just so fascinating for me. I'm super excited about what you're going to be bringing to the table next. I'm super excited.
Thank you. Yeah. I worked at Enchanted for many years.
Wow.
I started as a sales rep, like what Brian was or is. I don't know.
He's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But yes.
And then I moved to psychic reader, and I did that. And what was cool was, I got to hang out a lot with Penny, which is Lori's daughter. And then as well as Lori, when it was slow, I could just go in and chat with Lori. And, so I could ask her, questions, and I could get her little tips on like psychic reading and stuff like that. So that, while it was informal versus the formal Cabot training, it was just as valuable, if not more.
Absolutely.
Because Lori,
I was lucky, like you, I go out there quite a bit, but I became friends with other people out there. And through Brian, I, got to go out and be in that that kind of, it's their own little inner circle group of friends that they go hang out and go out and have, coffee or tea or, a glass of wine or whatever. But yeah, I got to go and do that and meet different people. And if I was waiting for Brian to get done with work, I was sitting in the back room and I was helping package herbs, for them to sell on the floor. And I was sitting with Penny and doing stuff with her, and Lori might be there and, chit-chatting and whatnot. And it was great. I mean, to be able to talk to these people, and they're no different than you and I, we're all the same. It was absolutely wonderful. Heather has a question. She says, what's the most important piece of advice you would give to practitioners?
So it would be a little bit more practical, perhaps, or maybe even spiritual. But I think the best advice I can give is to make sure that your sincerity and your enthusiasm are in it, because that is going to make you succeed completely. It's going to help you. It's going to push you to learn more, to practice more, to do more magic, to meditate more. But aside from that, if we're talking about an actual practice, I believe meditation is the most valuable thing anyone who works with energy could possibly do, whether that's psychic ability or it's magical ability. I think being able to shift your consciousness into alpha or other brainwave states, but also to get to know yourself and your thought process, and also what is you and what isn't you. And I think with that comes a clarity, and that clarity comes into your magic. It comes into your psychic ability. It ripples through everything in your life. So yeah, I would say meditation, and
I agree.
I agree.
So when I know we've got very few minutes here, but I have another really quick question. Matt, do you do a lot of astral travel? or not too much?
Yeah.
I
Is
kind of
this
knew
your
the
own
answer.
question? Yeah. I didn't astral project until I was like maybe 21, 22, something like that. But it started happening spontaneously. And then it got to the point that it was so regular that I was like, I need to learn like how to do this, like how to control this, how to consciously, you know, be in control of this so it's not automatic or spontaneous. And I actually taught astral projection before I moved into teaching other people witchcraft
Wow.
or psychic ability. So yeah, that was my very first workshop was on astral projection.
That's awesome, Matt. That's really
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah,
So,
it's quite the thing to do, and I love it that you talk about that in the book, and that's why I wanted to quickly bring it up.
Yeah.
so how do you celebrate Yule coming up? 'Cause that's coming up very quickly.
Yes.
So how do you celebrate in your household?
Celebrate, I'm sorry, I missed it all.
You
Yule?
will.
Yeah, Yule. Okay. Yeah, so we celebrate Christmas and Yule. So for Christmas, we celebrate Santa Christmas, not baby Jesus Christmas. Because we are Americans and Christmas is a cultural thing for us,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. You know, including family.
Right.
Like not all our family is going to celebrate Yule.
Mhm.
So Christmas is very holiday-ish for us. Yule is the spiritual part of
Yes.
it. And, I celebrate that on winter solstice. And I can't say that there's a formulaic thing that I do. Every Sabbath, I do something different, and it just kind of depends on how I'm feeling inspired and what I'm feeling moved to do. But I always keep it in the framework of what the holiday's about,
Yeah.
spiritually and magically. For me, Yule is very much about finding that inner divinity, that inner light, that newborn sun that's being born, in the darkest times of our lives, just recognizing that, like deep in the core, the light is reborn, because that after the winter solstice, the sun
Yes. The sun starts going
increases.
longer. Mhm.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I do it a
it
little I do it a little different. I mean, for us, for Yule, we burn a Yule log and we put little petitions rolled up and we burn away what we want to let go of from
Mhm.
this year. And then we also will do another petition of what we are manifesting or what we're intending for this next year,
I like
almost
that.
like the Samhain in a way. So we kind of
Yeah.
have a dual thing going because it's the shortest day of the year. The
Mhm.
darkness is going to go away, hence that's why you're getting rid of. And now that that sun is becoming longer, we are going to be putting out
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, for our new year. That's what we do. Mhm.
For me, the winter solstice is very much about going inward.
Yes.
If we look at nature, if we look at trees, all their energy has withdrawn, all their leaves fall off, and they
Mhm.
send that energy down into their roots. And
Mhm.
so for me, paralleling what's going on with nature, on
Like a
this.
soul searching.
Yeah, it will, and it's very much about just going inward, reflecting,
Mhm.
honoring the fact that, although everything feels dead and wintry and dark,
Mhm.
because the lack of sunlight, that, that light in us is eternal and it's being reborn. I
Mhm.
don't do a lot of magical manifestation for Yule. That usually comes more in the springtime. For
Do you
winter,
do it more for in bulk then?
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of when I start like planting my seeds metaphorically
Gotcha.
for what I want in the year. But yeah, I see winter solstice as the after the
Thank
harvest,
you, Heather.
now it's the hibernation
Mhm.
type period.
No, this
I,
everybody does it a little bit different. So,
yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
just one of the things that when I did it with a local coven here, that's what we did. So
Mhm.
that's just what I carried through with for my kids. So that's what my children like to do. So They're
Yeah, and
adults now, don't get me
I
wrong.
love it. I love it, and I'm not invalidating it. Manifest anytime during the
Yeah.
year, you know? Um,
But no, but Matthew or Matt, I'm sorry about that. Matt, it was great to,
Yes.
get to be able to chit chat with you and talk about your books. They
Definitely.
are fabulous. And Jenny is correct. We can't keep them on our shelves every
Nope.
time. Every time, I mean, my God, Llewellyn is just like, oh God, it's Jody again from Midwest Witchery and Healing. How many more do you need? When I drive and pick it up, I need it before I open the store on Wednesday. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to will call over at Llewellyn's headquarters and getting them.
Yeah. We're real good friends with Llewellyn. We're like 10 minutes away, so we can go any
Yeah.
day.
yeah, I was gonna say
Thank you.
Llewellyn's like right by you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I live in
I know,
Stillwater.
I'm 10
Jenny
minutes.
lives in Montemita,
Yeah,
and
so we're
their
10
shop is
minutes
in
away.
Maplewood and then Woodbury. I mean, we are literally within 10 minutes of each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So if you ever come out to Llewellyn, let us know. And we
Yes.
will meet up with you for
Absolutely.
coffee
We
or
could,
whatever.
we could do a big author signing event. I know patrons would come from all over the place. I mean, we probably would have to like close the store down so we could just have it, just the line coming in right to you, to feed into you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm more than happy to hang out when I visit. And
We love it.
if you want me to do an event or something, I'm open to that. I'm not sure when I will be in that part of the country anytime soon.
Well, you
you
have my
just
email.
never knew.
You have my email. Just email us and
Yeah, email
we'll
us.
make it work.
Well, and you never know, Matt. Maybe they'll have you come out for Pagonicon in the
Yeah.
next couple of years. If your book is going to be hitting around that time, you know what I mean? They might have you come out as a special guest,
Yeah.
to do different things. That's stuff that Llewellyn works with them too. So you just never know.
Definitely.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Well, how can people get in contact with you? How can they follow you for any videos you do, any other podcasts, interviews?
Yes, anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my website is matauryn.com, spelled just like on the screen.
Mhm.
And I'm on social media, pretty much every social media platform as at Mat Auryn. Whether it's Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, I'm easy to find on Facebook. Just make sure my name is spelled correctly because we do have all those scammers trying to impersonate people.
Yes,
And
we don't want no scammers. They need
I
to
will
be.
I will never try to sell you a reading. Like I promise. So if a Mat Auryn is trying to sell you a reading, especially if it's random, it's not me.
That's crazy how much of that is out there.
Yeah.
It
Can
really is.
people get readings with you on your website, or do you not do
No,
public
I've
readings?
retired from doing psychic readings. I got to a point where I was raising my rates to try to slow down how many people were getting readings. And I had to get to a point where it's like it didn't matter how high I raised the price, even to things that I thought was ridiculous. It
Wow.
keep
People were
coming
buying
in.
it. Mhm.
Yeah, and I was like, for me, it's not about the money. It's about trying to buy my time. And I decided that writing and teaching was a better use of my time. It was more valuable to me
Yeah,
than
because
to
you're
give
helping others.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm teaching people how to give readings, how to tune into that psychic ability. So teach a man to fish, right?
Yes,
Absolutely.
definitely. Well, thank you again for coming on the
Yes,
show,
thank
and we'll
you so
definitely have to get you
much.
back on when your new book comes out.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you so much.
Yes, we would. Take care, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Matt.
Yes.
It was a great guest. I'm super excited I had him on the show. Next week we may have a show. I have to try to find a guest. I have a couple ideas. My big guest for next week kind of had to reschedule for the first show of 2023, which actually works
That's
better.
okay.
Let's just
That's
say
okay.
this name is huge in the paranormal field. Everyone knows them. I'm not going to use any pronouns because I don't want to give hints. Go to our Facebook page. I'll be dropping hints every day this week to the big reveal on Friday. But this person, they are known, very widely known in the paranormal field, multiple TV shows. Once I drop the name, everybody's going to go crazy because let's just say it's taken me
a long time to
months
get this.
to get this person confirmed and booked. And they asked me to come on the show. I didn't ask them. They asked me to come on the show.
I think that's awesome. That's so awesome.
I've known this person for, I think the first time I met them was in 2014 or 15.
I was going to say, it's been a long time.
And Jody knows who it is.
I know who it is. I do. I know.
She's super excited. She's going to be a fangirl.
We're gonna be quiet about it though.
So I'm super excited.
Yeah, before we announce, before we get off, I wanted to just make a little public announcement. With Yule coming up, you guys, I'm in the works. You're going to have to watch my Facebook page for Midwest Witchery and Healing. With Yule around the corner, I am working with the Tilted Tiki in downtown Stillwater to have an open pagan Yule ritual with a fire, the whole 9 yards, right on Main Street in Stillwater on Saturday, the 17th. This is the day that we are trying to do it. I am going to be meeting with Chris, who is the owner of the Tilted Tiki, to work out the kinks this week. So I should be able to announce it this week on Wednesday. Again, just go to my Facebook page for Midwest Witchery and Healing, and it'll be all on there. It's going to be as an event. It is public. It is free. Come and join us. If you don't understand it, you just want to learn about it, just come and hang out with us. That's all it is. We're just going to be chilling. Bring some cocoa with you, because I'm assuming it's going to be cold.
It's been solid in the middle of winter.
Go into the Tilted Tiki and have a cocktail to come out and keep you warm, whatever. But we're planning something. We're planning fun.
You don't want me to drink, so
that's okay. I'm not a big drinker either, so it's all good.
One drink will get me hammered, and you'll see me drunk, so that's not good.
Yeah, I'll just drink my hot cocoa because I got to be of sound mind. So, but yeah, so that's kind of exciting, and we've been busy down at the store. So come on in, if you're thinking about anything, just like, Jenny and Bonnie have been very great. Just with everything going on, we have been big family supporters of each other for years and years and years. And, so they're sending a lot of their customers to me for your last minute needs. I'm here if you need me. This is just a bump. They're working really diligently. Things are coming. Things are coming. Good.
Is closed. So if you need something, message us, and we'll try to find it in this warehouse of disaster zone right now. But otherwise, if we don't know where, then YouTube. And if Joey doesn't have it, find some other people who have the stuff that you need.
Yeah, and if nothing else, I've got your back.
Yep. If we don't have a show next weekend, we'll be back on the 18th with Deborah Blake, who is the person that has made Everyday Witch Oracle through Lulu Allen and several different other books. I'm super excited. Me and Jody met her in September at Pagan Pride, and she's the sweetest little lady. So I'm super excited to have her on.
And her Oracle deck is so fun.
Yeah.
My goodness,
so much fun.
I love it. I mean, I own it myself, and I have it at the shop.
Oh yeah, it's really good. But otherwise, hopefully we'll see you next weekend. If not, we'll play a replay. I'm hoping to find someone for next weekend because I don't want to go one more week without a show. I went on hiatus for a while, so kind of make that up.
Well, and that's because of sickness and travel and whatnot. So what do we do?
But if anyone has suggestions for 2023 guests, message the page, message me or Jody.
Please do.
We're always willing to listen to suggestions. Paranormal, witchcraft, pagan, anything psychic,
healing,
media.
anything.
So I know I'm gonna work this week on getting Matt's husband on the show, Devin, who is a crystal guru. That's my goal this week. But otherwise, Send
Yeah.
us your suggestions. We want to hear your suggestions. It doesn't
Yes.
have to be only pagan or witchcraft or anything. It could be
Exactly.
paranormal, anything.
And Jenny, I may have somebody for you next week.
You gotta let me know.
I will call you when we're done here and I'll run it by you.
Okay. Oh
Sound
yeah,
good?
Selena Fox. Let's get Selena Fox on.
Oh, I think that's got to be a must this year.
Oh, yeah.
Next
Next year.
2023, that's a must. Let's do it.
We'll just hit up
everybody.
What's his name at Llewellyn and just get all the Llewellyn.
Oh, Matt or Mark?
Mark.
Yeah, we'll get a hold of Mark.
I know he's pretty sick of us from INAT. So
yes, and maybe we could even get we could get the author from The Crooked Path. That's another good one. So there we go. All right, you guys have a great week. Stay warm out there.
Bye.
Bye.